All right, so buckle up, everybody, because we are diving headfirst into David Goggins' Never Finished today.
Yeah, this one's going to be intense, just like Goggins himself.
Oh, absolutely. And you know we love a good challenge here on the Deep Dive Reset.
Absolutely.
So, for anyone who hasn't yet experienced the force of nature, and that is David Goggins,
Yeah, how do you sum up Goggins?
right, like where do you even begin? Former Navy SEAL, ultra athlete, motivational speaker.
He's kind of notorious for pushing himself to these insane limits, things most people wouldn't even dream of.
Like, the guy once held the world record for the most pull-ups in 24 hours, something like 4,000, I think.
It's nuts.
Talk about commitment, right?
Absolutely, but that's the thing. That's just scratching the surface with Goggins. It's not just about these crazy feats. It's about the why behind it all,
Yeah.
And that's what makes his story and this book so powerful. It's not about becoming some superhuman. It's about tapping into that inner strength that we all have.
Right, that untapped potential waiting to be unleashed.
Exactly.
And man, Goggins' past, let me tell you, it was rough.
Oh, yeah.
Like, he doesn't sugarcoat anything. He lays it all out there. Poverty, abuse, racism, he faced it all.
That's heavy stuff.
It is. And he talks about this particularly chilling encounter with a KKK member when he was a kid.
Right, a stark reminder of the hate and prejudice that he faced.
It really makes you think about the resilience of the human spirit,
Absolutely, and it's actually in those early experiences, those really tough times, where we see the seeds of Goggins' resilience being sown.
So true.
And he talks about feeling broken, like a cockroach hiding in the shadows, just trying to survive. It's such a powerful image, right?
Yes.
Because so many people can relate to that feeling of being trapped, of letting their past dictate their present. You know what I mean?
Totally. And for Goggins, I think a turning point came when he decided to confront his father, right? He actually went back to his childhood home.
Yeah, it wasn't about revenge or anything.
Well,
He went back to face the man who'd caused him so much pain, but to really confront himself.
it's like he had to break free from that cycle of blame and anger,
Exactly, and it's in that moment of confrontation that Goggins starts to really take control of his own life, his own healing.
He even says, and I'm paraphrasing here, when you're living in hell, you have to find the way out.
It's like a light bulb went off for him. you know?
Yeah.
He could either stay angry, stay stuck, or he could choose to move forward.
And that right there, that is the essence of Goggins's concept of resilience.
It's not about forgetting the past, no.
No, it's about recognizing its impact without letting it control your future.
Absolutely. And it's incredibly empowering when you really think about it.
It really is, because it means that no matter what you've been through, you always have the strength to break free and create a new narrative for yourself.
Write your own story.
Exactly. So we've talked about Goggins's past, his resilience, but now I kind of want to dig into the how.
Right, like how does someone go from feeling so broken to becoming a Navy SEAL running ultra marathons?
Yeah, it seems almost superhuman, right?
It does, but that's the beauty of Goggins' approach. It's not about being superhuman. It's about these tools, these mental tools that he breaks down. And they're not just for elite athletes,
No, absolutely not.
They're for anyone who wants to push their limits, whatever those limits are, achieve their goals, really become the best version of themselves.
And one of the most fascinating tools, I think, is what he calls his mental lab, this idea of visualization.
Oh, yeah.
He goes into detail in the book about how he uses this to prepare for these crazy challenges.
Yeah, and it's not just like closing your eyes and wishing for it. He's talking about really vividly picturing himself like running the Badwater ultramarathon course in his mind.
Down to like the smallest details.
The white line on the road, the heat, even that mental fatigue you get when you're pushing yourself that hard.
It's wild.
It is.
It's like he's already run the race in his head before he ever sets foot on the actual course.
He has, and there's actually a lot of science to back up why this works.
Yeah, tell me more about that.
Well, visualization, it actually primes your brain for success. It's like you're creating a mental blueprint. So when you actually face that challenge in real life, you're less anxious, you're more confident.
So it's almost like tricking your mind into thinking, I've got this, because you've already been there, mentally at least.
Exactly. And, another tool he talks about, which I think a lot of people can relate to, is this idea of recording your negative self-talk and listening back to it.
Oh, yeah.
He calls it catching your inner bitch.
Right, those voices in your head telling you to quit, make excuses.
Exactly. And Goggins, he's all about confronting that stuff head on. So he actually started recording those thoughts, and he talks about how ridiculous it sounded hearing it played back to him.
Because it is, right. We all have those negative thoughts, but when you hear them out loud, it's like, whoa, is that really what I sound like?
Right, kind of takes away their power a little bit.
And then there's this other thing he talks about, and this one might sound a little crazy, but intentionally embracing the uncomfortable.
Oh yeah, this is classic Goggins.
So explain this one, because we've talked about pushing past pain, facing your fears, but this idea of seeking discomfort, that's next level.
It is, but it's also brilliant, and here's why. Goggins believes that the more you step outside your comfort zone, even in small ways, the more resilient you become.
So give me an example, like what does this look like in practice?
Well, he talks about, training in extreme heat, getting eaten alive by mosquitoes during those runs, even getting dive bombed by birds. Can you imagine?
Sounds miserable.
It does, right. But the point is, he's intentionally putting himself in situations that are physically and mentally challenging.
And by doing that, he's building up that mental toughness that then carries over into other areas of his life.
Exactly. It's like training your mind to handle anything by throwing everything at it.
That's so interesting. Now, from what we've discussed so far, it might seem like Goggins' philosophy is all about this relentless pushing, this never-ending pursuit of discomfort.
Right, like go, 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 push harder.
Exactly.
But there's actually a really important flip side to that coin, and that's knowing when to strategically take a knee.
Okay, now this I have to hear more about, because taking a knee sounds like the opposite of everything we've talked about so far.
It might seem that way, but it's really not about giving up. It's about being smart with your energy, regaining control.
So it's more strategic.
Exactly. He uses this great analogy of a medic treating what he calls a distracting injury.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
So imagine you're at an accident scene, and someone has a gruesome broken leg, but their airway is blocked. What do you focus on first?
The airway, right. You have to make sure they can breathe.
Exactly. You don't get sidetracked by the most dramatic injury, even if it seems like the biggest problem at first glance.
So taking a knee isn't about giving up, it's about prioritizing.
Exactly. Sometimes the mental game is knowing when to rest, recover, or even just recalibrate your approach.
And that takes a lot of self-awareness, right? Knowing yourself well enough to recognize when you need to push and when you need to pull back.
It does. And it's not always easy. It's about asking yourself, am I avoiding discomfort, or am I making a strategic retreat to come back stronger?
That's such a good question, and I think it speaks to the depth of Goggins' philosophy.
Right. He's not just about brute force, it's about strategy. And a big part of that strategy is having the right people in your corner.
Which, speaking of, he also talks about the importance of your foxhole, right? The people you surround yourself with.
Oh, absolutely. And I think that's a really important point, especially given his image as this lone wolf.
It's not what you'd expect.
Not at all. But he's very clear about the fact that even the toughest individuals need support. They need people who believe in them, who challenge them.
He calls it individuation, right? Knowing yourself well enough to build that supportive foxhole.
Exactly. And it's about recognizing that not everyone in your life is going to be on board with your journey of self-improvement.
And that's okay.
It is, but you have to be willing to let go of relationships that are holding you back.
Surround yourself with people who share your values, who push you to be your best self.
Absolutely. It's about creating a community of growth.
I love that.
It's like that quote, you become the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with.
So true. All right, so we've covered Goggins' tough past, his actionable mental tools, the importance of strategic rest, and the power of a supportive community. That's a lot.
It is, and yet it all ties back to this overarching idea of a never-finished mentality, which is, of course, the title of his book.
Right, and it's more than just a catchy title. It's like a mantra, a way of life.
Absolutely, and that's what we're going to dig into next.
And you know what I find really inspiring about Goggins? It's that this never-finished mentality. It's not just some phase he went through.
Right, it's not like a marketing gimmick.
Exactly. He's still out there, pushing boundaries, redefining what's possible, even after achieving what most people consider, a lifetime's worth of accomplishments.
It's like, at what point do you say, okay, I've done enough? But Goggins never does.
He's like, bring on the next challenge. And the best part is he's not afraid to be vulnerable about the struggle.
Right, he doesn't shy away from the tough stuff.
Not at all. He's very open in the book about his injuries, his setbacks, those moments of doubt that creep in.
We all have them.
Oh, absolutely. And I think it makes him so much more relatable. He's not pretending to be superhuman. He's just saying, hey, I'm human, I struggle, but I keep going.
Exactly. It's that perseverance that's so inspiring.
Totally. And he even talks about this hilarious scene during this 240-mile race where he's having a complete meltdown in a portable toilet.
Oh yeah, that part had me cracking up.
Right. Like, here's this guy who's run like a gazillion miles and he's curled up in a porta potty ready to quit.
But he doesn't.
He doesn't. He literally, and I love this, describes flushing that voice of doubt down the toilet.
It's such a powerful image.
It really is, and I think it speaks to that internal battle we all face. That choice between giving in and choosing to keep going, even when it's hard, even when it's uncomfortable, even when you're staring defeat in the face.
It's about digging deep and finding that inner strength. And Goggins, he's like a walking, talking example of what's possible when you do that.
He really is, and I think that's what I take away from this book, from Goggins's entire philosophy. It's not about becoming some superhuman, it's about being the best version of yourself.
Exactly, whatever that looks like for you.
Exactly. And it's about embracing that never finished mentality, that constant pursuit of growth and self-improvement.
Because there's always more to learn, more to achieve, more to become.
So there you have it, folks. A deep dive into the mind of David Goggins and his incredible book, Never Finished.
We've covered a lot of ground today.
We have, from his tough past to his powerful mental tools, the importance of rest and community, and that's unwavering, never finished spirit. It's been an incredible journey.
It really has, and I hope it's inspired everyone listening to push their own limits, whatever those limits may be.
Absolutely. Remember, you are capable of more than you think, so go out there and make it happen. That's all for today's deep dive. Until next time, keep exploring, keep pushing, and never stop unleashing your inner savage.